So welcome, Abby.
Thank you, Matt.
The the name of the campaign. So we're
Yeah.
setting up this podcast, videocast, to give people a little update on how the campaign is going if they've not met you before,
Yeah.
who you are, what you're doing, and hopefully getting everyone to kind of follow along on the kind of really exciting stuff
Yeah, that'd be great.
that we're endeavouring into. So first question
Yeah.
is, who are you?
I'm just a normal person who has been on a bit of a journey and can see a different way forward in Parliament that probably not many, if anyone else can see. And it's really because of my journey that has enabled me to get to that position. So I'm an independent already on Shepton Mallet Town Council. I was elected in 2019, and a group of us prior to that had got together because we realised that our local council wasn't really effectively working, and they weren't working together, and it was quite a toxic place, really. Like, there have been lots of stories where the police have been called, and
Oh, really?
yeah, ridiculous stuff. So it was, before we joined, it was made up of Labour, Liberal Democrats and Conservatives, and they just could not hold a place where they could speak collaboratively together.
And what do you think, what is the issue where people can't, what's stopping people working collaboratively?
It's a good question. I think we realised when we formed this group that it was their party politics that was preventing them from talking to each other, because they would revert into their parties, into their groupings, and it almost didn't matter what another person said in a different party. It was preventing them from working together. And so it's easy to see that from the outside. And this model had already been achieved in Frome. So they had created a group called Independence for Frome, and they had worked hard to do the same thing, to take party politics out of their town council. And they had already been successful. And they had one of the members of that, the founding members, had written a book called Flat Pack Democracy, which we had read.
Amazing.
I'd love to show it to you. I'm not sure I've got it though. So we read that book. We met with him as well, and we talked to him about what they had done, which was really useful.
So this idea of being an independent councillor or member of parliament, which is what you're running for.
Yeah.
Is this a new thing, or is this something
For me.
for you? Where the idea of it is this already like an established?
Yeah, it is. No, it's not an established thing. So independents have run for Parliament before, all across the country, but they have never been successful. And my analysis of that is because they go in too late. So they go in a month before they go in when the election gets called. They haven't really got a strategy or a plan. They're going in either on a protest or a single ticket issue. They don't take people on the journey with them. So they just, they're like, this is all wrong and I'm going to put myself forward. And that's kind of the whole thought process. Whereas with this particular campaign, it's bringing people on the journey with you, and it's not on a single ticket issue or on the back of a scandal. So it's looking at Parliament and seeing a different way forward that could possibly work. I would say definitely work, actually, although it is a risk because it's not been done before. So part of that journey has involved me going to all of the parish councils across the constituency. I just identified another one last week with 1,000 people living there. So that's another one I need to add in, but there's over 50 of them. So I've connected with all of the clerks and all the chairs and all the councillors. And on that journey too, I've met all of the North Somerset councillors and all of the Somerset councillors, because it crosses two county councils. And so I've made all of those connections. And then I realised sort of halfway through that process that I actually needed to connect with people face to face as well. So I left my job at the University of Bath and went door knocking full time.
And this is all to concentrate on the campaign of becoming an MP.
Yeah, this is to get the seat. So because the whole process of becoming an MP is through an election, so people need to vote for you. And in order for people to vote for me and feel confident in me, I feel like as an independent, they need to meet me. And in order to meet me, I need to go out and knock on doors.
And so I think a big question here is, why are you running to be an MP? What's stopping you? Why is it important that you're an MP versus staying in the council or joining another party and supporting someone else becoming an MP?
Yeah. I think because of my journey in the parish council, where we have been so successful at removing party politics, I see party politics as being the biggest block in Parliament.
So you've already had that experience of seeing where people's affiliation to a party is stopping them getting in the way of moving forward with something?
It's stopping them working together, and it's stopping them from finding solutions that will, they need to talk to each other respectfully for a start, which they don't do in Parliament across parties or even within their parties, actually. And then finding solutions together. And it's a stalemate now, I would say. They are unable to do it. They are completely blocked from doing it. Even the way our Parliament is set up, we have like the Conservatives on one side and the Labour Party on the other side. So it's like that's the battle line, isn't it? Whereas if we're actually sitting in a circle, for example, it's a bit more collaborative. Well, it's a lot more collaborative than the way how it's set up. So in my mind, if we remove party politics, which many councils have done locally very successfully, if we do the same process in central government, in Parliament, we can actually get to a place where we can work together and find solutions.
Amazing. And that solution that you're running for in the campaign is to become an independent MP. And
I would never join a party.
Okay. And so what are the benefits of being an independent?
I'm not subject to a whip is the biggest benefit. So the whip, people might not understand what the whip is, but each political party has a whip, a chief whip, where they tell them how to vote, basically. So all of our MPs currently, because this is a system we have signed up to, don't scrutinise legislation properly because they have somebody else telling them how to vote. So it means they don't even have to look into the nitty-gritty of what legislation they're passing. So I'm not subject to that process because I'm an independent. So I would have to look at the legislation myself and scrutinise it myself properly and figure out the bits that would work and may not work and that need adjusting or that may need to go back and be edited.
Is it work where you have more freedom, you're less controlled to vote or less pressure to vote in a certain way?
Yeah, no pressure to vote.
No pressure. So does that mean that the benefit of being an independent is that you can listen more to your constituency? Yeah,
that's the other problem that the political parties have. So they put forward their candidates get in safe seats. So this is a safe Conservative seat. And now we have got an MP who is very disengaged because he doesn't actually need to be engaged. Whereas an independent MP, you have to be engaged because you voted on a person rather than a political party or a political party leader.
Yeah.
So you have to be engaged with your constituency, but also I want to be engaged with my constituency. That's part of my driver. So through that process, I can be listening when they're writing me letters. I can respond. I can also take into that consideration when I'm going into government and voting on X, Y, and Z.
Amazing.
That's the theory. But it would work. I mean, this is all in theory, isn't it? Because it's never been done before.
Which I think is an interesting thing to talk about because is this the first time something like this is going to have happened?
So in the last 70 years, 2 male independents have got in. One was Martin Bell and one was Richard Taylor.
For this constituency?
No, this is in the country. In the whole country. Yeah, nationwide. So they were both in the Midlands. And Martin Bell was on the back of a scandal around the sitting MP, and Richard Taylor was on a single ticket to save the hospital.
Okay, yeah.
So those 2 independents didn't go in with the philosophy of, okay, we need to change the whole arena of Parliament to open it up so we're respecting each other for a start, we're listening to each other, we're scrutinising legislation properly, and then we're actually passing decent legislation that has a purpose.
So it seems that a lot of the big parts of this is collaboration, listening, and these are things that we're looking to Parliament and we're seeing that they're not doing at the moment.
I don't think they're listening. No, they're definitely not collaboratively working. I believe they feel like they're doing the right thing. I don't think that is particularly the issue. But it's not working. That's the main thing. It's just not working.
And so if it comes to the next general election and you become an MP, what kind of message does that send? What does that show?
It will be a big deal because it's not been done before by a woman, and it's not been done before on this premise. Mm-hmm. So I would be speaking a language in Parliament to say, because first of all, it would shock the system.
Yeah.
It would be very big news because it's not been done before. And and that's just by me getting elected, before even saying or do anything.
You as the first female independent MP
ever elected, yeah. So when I get there, I would then start to say, okay, they would be asking questions of me, like, how have you managed to get here? Like, it would be a big shock. I'll have displaced a military leader, Conservative MP in a safe Conservative seat. So it would be very shocking to the system. And I think it would be so surprising that they would feel nervous around how I got there, because who's to say that like 60 other independents aren't going to follow me in the next general election, which is what I would hope for. So I would have a platform, and I would use that platform to say, we need to start, I've listened to 15,000 people in my constituency, and the common theme is that they don't want to see a warring government anymore. They want to see a government that's working together to find solutions. You might think that this is entertainment, but the public do not. They actually want to see a government that's...
And so is the consensus, because there's a lot of work that's been going on in the campaign in the run-up, because this hasn't been... How long have you been working on this campaign now?
So I decided in December 2022 to run. Yeah. Okay.
And you've been, a part of your campaign at the moment is a lot of door knocking?
Yeah, predominantly it's door knocking. So I spend 4 or 5 days a week door knocking.
And how many doors have you knocked so far?
8,260.
8,260. And is that some sort of record?
Probably. I don't think anyone's ever done that. I mean, they may have. I'd love to know who they are if they have. But it takes an awful lot of energy and work.
That's a lot of...
It's a lot of doors. I do about 30 an hour.
Wow.
And I can do about 200 a day. So...
And that's a lot of listening?
Yeah. Yeah, mostly listening. Because actually when you knock on a door, you don't know who's going to answer for a start. So you have to be prepared for everything. Mm-hmm. And when they answer the door, you don't know how you're going to be received when you tell them what it is that you're doing. And a lot of people have a lot of anger, anxiety, frustration, and they need to get that out. So I have to give them a place where they can get that out. And then I'm able to present them with a different option. So it's like I'm taking on the anxiety of the nation at the moment.
And what does the reception feel like on the door?
If I can get past those couple of stages, then the reception is good, because my message speaks to everybody. It speaks to a Labour voter, it speaks to a Liberal Democrat voter, it speaks to a strategic voter, it speaks to a Conservative voter, it speaks to a non-voter, and it speaks to a protest voter. So it actually speaks to the whole spectrum. Everybody. Because everybody can agree that when they look, if they're really looking, and you have to be honest about that, you have to really look. When they look, they see a government that is at war with each other. And they know from personal experience that if you are in a battle, you can't do anything else. You're just in a battle.
That sounds like a massive undertaking.
Yeah. Sometimes I think I'm a bit crazy. I am a bit crazy. But I'm pretty feisty too. So, and also when I get something in my head, it's very difficult for me to not do anything else.
So I think that kind of brings us on to... You kind of talked about who you are, why you're doing it. Yeah. And you said you're feisty, and on the doors it could be quite intimidating to some people. So what's your...
I'm not feisty on the door.
Oh, you're not feisty on the door.
Just well, sometimes, depends who it is.
Maybe that helps sometimes.
Well, it's funny because you get different people. So I try and match people's body language. Mm-hmm. So if they're feisty with me, I will not square up to them, but I will match their body language. So it's like, okay, you're looking for somebody who's strong, assertive, knows what they're talking about, and I can give that to you. And some people are very meek and mild and...
A whole spectrum of people.
Yeah, so you've got to match that body language. I don't want to go in like all guns blazing with somebody who's,
So your approach isn't necessarily like a written down.
No.
You don't have like something that you just stick to whenever you're talking on the door.
The message of me being the first female independent elected is a consistent narrative, but also I need to get to the bottom of quite quickly what people's concerns are, and then try and give them a sensible response to that. not necessarily a solution. I don't have all the solutions.
So that's quite an interesting point. And so it's a lot of work what you're doing.
Yeah.
What's your background like? Like what's making you so good at this?
So I've been a police officer. So I've trained in a whole array of things with that, like interviewing, for example, and going to every kind of incidents. So I've been to murders, I've been to rapes,
Wow.
I've delivered death messages.
Real life.
Horrible stuff. Yeah. I've also worked in housing and homelessness. So I've worked with rough sleepers. I've worked with people in addiction and with severe mental health issues. And I've worked in education as well. And also I've worked in hospitals.
So you have a lot of experience.
In
real life, not just theoretical,
no.
Actually been there front line.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh yeah, all front line. So I'm 42 now, and I started working when I was 18 for social services in a unit with adults with learning difficulties. So a residential setting. So since I was 18, I've worked in this sector.
So it seems like you can kind of authentically speak to pretty much any.
I would say so,
issue,
but
yeah.
but I could speak. I think I feel comfortable speaking to everybody. Yeah, and I probably have met most people.
And I can imagine how many X amount of hours you've done on the door.
Yeah.
The amount of different kinds of people that you have met, and like the importance of listening to everybody and being able to kind of gather that information and collect it to inform your campaign.
Yeah, because people's needs are different and people's thought processes are different. So like people often want me to have exactly the same values as them. And I try and explain to those people that's not possible, because your value system is very unique to you. It depends on your upbringing, on your education, on your peer groups, on your work employment, your employment, your life experiences. And they all differ slightly from person to person. So you probably never get two people with exactly the same value system. There will be edits in there somewhere. So that's not the point. The point is that you're able to, like you say, listen and take on each value system and then try and serve the constituency as a whole to the best of your ability. But it is difficult. It's a difficult balance. It's a difficult thing to hold. It'll be a difficult thing to hold in Parliament.
So I think that's a really interesting point with all those kind of skills and attributes. And I want to ask, what do you think makes a good MP?
Someone who's listening, someone who unafraid, I would say, someone who will face a problem or a challenge, face on. They won't shy away from it or run in the other direction, but they're just sort of listen and be open to it. Someone who's probably quite good at problem solving. For me as well, it's about networking. So most importantly, if you come to me with an issue and I'm your MP, you might want to know where to go with it. I'm not necessarily going to have the solutions, but I might be able to connect you with somebody who is able to offer you some sort of solution or support you with it.
You can facilitate that.
Yeah, I think that's part of the role.
Yeah.
And then part of it's being able to communicate effectively, build relationships with all people, and listen. Did I say listen? Listen.
Yeah. Listening is very important.
It's very important.
And do you think an MP should know all the answers?
No,
to these
they're not going to know all the answers. Of course they're not. I mean, I'm really unique. I've got a lot of experience because I've worked in housing, so I've got a lot of experience around that. And I've also got a lot of experience in terms of criminal law and legislation because I've been a police officer. So I'm pretty unique in that term. But I wouldn't expect all MPs to have all of that knowledge. And actually the great thing about Parliament should be, it's not because of the way we elect with the parties, but we've got a whole variety of skill sets we should do. That would be the best thing. And then we can contribute with our, experience and skills and knowledge that each individual MP is coming in with.
And with the idea of being an MP, why aren't those things shared?
In Parliament, I think because of the party divides and the polarisation. So if you were Conservative and I was Labour, you would automatically, probably it's programmed into you, I don't know how they train their MPs, but you're not going to value my thoughts as much as you would a fellow colleague who's a Conservative MP, I would suggest.
I mean, that would make sense.
What if we did value each other's opinions?
I think that definitely makes sense, but also makes sense that there's a certain divide.
Yeah, and my experience with working within the political parties, because I have done locally, is that they just go into their political party and they value other people's opinions and thoughts less because they're in a different political party. But for me, that's really unhelpful.
And so how do you think the campaign is going so far?
I think it's going well. People do respond to me really well on the door. However, when the election is called and people need to vote, I wonder if people would go back into their safety net that's actually not very safe and vote in that way, because that's what they've always known to do. So part of this campaign is about being brave and bold and moving to a new place where people start voting for the person rather than the political party. And that might not necessarily be me. It might actually be another candidate, in which case I would urge them to vote for that candidate. But I think we do need to step away from voting for a party and more for the person. Yeah.
Amazing. Brilliant. Well, I have learnt a lot.
Good, me too.